Tuesday. What's Tin-Yetti cooking today?
G'day folks, chew on that Tuesday. Well, I'm not cooking anything today, but I thought I'd run you through a very important skill, which is keeping your knives sharp. You're going to have to listen to me talk a bit because I think it's important that you understand what you're doing and why you're doing it before you learn how to do it. When you buy your new knife and you look down the blade at it like this, it's going to look something like this one here. A nice shallow edge. Depending on what brand and make it is, it may be that this just fades in. You won't even be able to distinguish it. In lots, you'll be able to see a distinct edge on the bottom of your edge. So the aim of using a steel is to maintain this, to keep this shape. So over time with use, you're going to end up with this rounded edge on the bottom, and that's a blunt knife. Is we need to take all of this material here off to actually above that corner. One of the mistakes most people would make is they work from this corner here and we'll bring it to sharp. So as you can see, over time, if that gets sharp and then we blunt it off here, then we go from here to there, and eventually we end up doing this so that we end up with a very hard to sharpen knife with a very shallow edge. This here, a very steep, a very long edge, will be sharper, so you're going to get a narrower edge, you're going to have a shallower entry angle at the start, but because it's so much narrower, it's a lot weaker, and so that's why we then wear that away a lot faster. Which is why when you look at anything involving chefs, they're always sharpening their knives. Because it's a maintenance thing. If you can slowly, continually maintain this angle and keep it sharp. So the other mistake that people make is in an attempt to sharpen, they'll actually take off this bit here. They won't even hit the point. So this point's now rounded because it's a blunt knife, but all they're taking off is this corner. So if you look at that, you can see that's not going to help, because it's not actually sharpening your cutting point down here. If this is looking cross-section down my steel, first of all you're going to clear away this corner here, and then as over the few passes you bring it down, and anything at the bottom here also clears away. When you get started, and I'll try and do this from a couple of different angles, the aim is to keep your blade just at that same angle all the way against your steel, and then obviously swapping sides. So what you're trying to do is maintain the same angle, and this is part of why it's really good to have one person sharpen any given knife, because you'll naturally have an angle that your wrist will sit at. And if you have different people sharpening it, then you're going to get different angles and you're not sharpening the same edge. So holding that angle and just running it smoothly through. As you can see, I've hit the thumb guard plenty of times, which I guess is why you've got a thumb guard. So when you get with a longer knife and you're doing it faster, you end up doing this and you hit here, which is okay, but if you have your thumb here and you hit your thumb instead, not so good. So you can do it in either with the knife backwards, like that, which is really unnatural for me because that's not how I've practiced it, or even going the other way, which obviously then you've got to be even more careful about other people around you so you don't stab anyone. Alright, and all I'm actually doing in that process is a tiny little wrist shift. So the blade goes from, let's see if I can get this angle right, about that angle to about that angle. So on the front side of the steel, it's at that angle, and then a tiny little wrist, even just finger turn to flick it across to the other angle. So from a different angle, trying to slow it down a bit. Again, nice and close. It's working along. It might only take half a dozen passes, 10 seconds, 30 seconds. But if you do it every single time you use that knife, you maintain that same angle at all times and your knife stays sharp. Simple. Hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea. It's easy with a short knife, you don't have as much risk of hitting your fingers. and that should be nice and sharp. I can even do it with my eyes closed. See you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday, or on the water.